Okay, so welcome. I'm so excited to be chatting today, and I'll talk a little bit more about myself. But I am the founder of Content Queen, and I'm here to talk about how to use social media as a key business strategy. Just a few housekeeping things. If you do ask any questions during the presentation, that is okay. But if you can hold off to the end, it'll allow me to be able to see them all because I am going to be asking you questions throughout. So I do want to keep the chat a little bit active for that. And then we'll do questions at the end. And also, I just want you to understand that there are a lot of elements to social media and content marketing as a strategy. So if you want to connect with me after this, please feel free. I'll share my socials at the end. And I also have a podcast and a blog. So any content you want to dive into further, you can. I will share some particular episodes from the podcast that might benefit on what I'm talking about. But before we kick off, I'd love to know what type of business you run. So if you could drop it in the chat. I know I did see a little bit from the signups, but I'd love to know who's with us. And then if you have a content marketing strategy, just there's like a reactions function on Zoom and you can do little emojis. So if you know how to do that, just do a thumbs up or a thumbs down for if you have a strategy or not. Planning to sell online bags. Amazing. Okay, cool. So no strategy, that's fine. There is no right or wrong answer to this. I had no strategy when I started my business and I was in marketing. So I think that's like worse. So I can totally empathize with you guys. And I would love to just, dive in and share all the things content marketing and strategy. So we've got a really good range of different businesses. And so that is awesome. Okay, so who am I? I'm Mariah. I'm the founder of Content Queen, which is a content marketing agency and educational business for online business owners and entrepreneurs. I am also a very big content creator. I've always loved writing and telling stories, and I'm also a podcast host. I founded Content Queen in 2019, and I'm now a digital nomad as best as I can during COVID. Fortunately, I'm in Sydney at the moment, so I did escape lockdown in November last year. And I actually grew up in Yulon North. So one of Latrobe City's towns, very small. And my purpose is to inform and educate. So hopefully I can inform and educate you guys today. So I just want to go over what we're going to cover, the basics of content marketing and how it relates to social media, what a content marketing strategy looks like, the formula, how to create a content marketing strategy for socials, how to come up with content ideas, how to know if your content is working. And then I've got some tips, some tools and tricks on social media to share at the end. So what is content marketing? I know we can sort of probably have heard a lot of definitions, or maybe we've never really heard of content marketing before. It is everything you see in this graphic, but I don't want you to be like, oh my God, there's too much. That is so overwhelming, because it's just here to show you how powerful content is for your business and why it is so important. So content marketing, as a definition, as told by the internet and Google, it's a type of marketing that involves the creation of sharing online material. So that could be videos, it could be blogs, it could be social media posts. But it's not here to explicitly promote like maybe your paid type of marketing. It is here to stimulate interest around your brand, your products, your services. And as mentioned, social media, it is an overall part of your content marketing strategy, but it's now sort of the widely used because it's easy to access, it's free, and lots of people are obviously consuming on there. Now, what I want you to think about your social media is it is in fact a window to your shop. Like if you had a physical store, it is the window to your shop window, and you want people to come in your store. You don't want them just to look at the shop and the front of the shop and how pretty it looks. You actually want them to come inside. So what happens with your social media is you need to have an objective for your content. So this could be anything from creating call to actions to your website, joining your email list. That you need to have a think about what that looks like. And of course, we'll dive into that when we talk about content marketing strategy. So I know a lot of you guys shop on Instagram and Facebook, but I would love for you to drop in the chat if there's any other social media platforms you might show up on, something a little bit different. But yeah, just drop in the comments what social media platforms you're currently on. And if you're not, that is also okay. But I would love to just get a general consensus of the platforms.
Just while we're putting in chat, if I could just ask everyone to please be on mute when Mariah is presenting, unless you've got any questions. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Okay. So what does a content strategy actually look like? Because I know a lot of and we've got in the chat, Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, of course, it's only early days. And that's amazing. You'll start to learn what platforms work best for you and what platforms work best for your audience as you continue. LinkedIn, also a great one. And if you have any questions about LinkedIn, leave them to the end. I can cover some stuff on that as well, because LinkedIn can be a little bit different. YouTube, amazing. Definitely can repurpose a lot from YouTube, which I will talk about soon as well. So a content strategy, as you can see on this graphic, it helps to educate your audience, create brand awareness, build trust and credibility. And we'll talk a little bit more about the sort of wheel of content marketing. But I just want you to let you know, posting every day isn't a strategy. And for some of you, you might not even post on your feed daily. So just posting every day and throwing content out there is not a strategy. I know that because obviously I've studied this, but I've done it myself. When I first started my business, I created my business off the back of a freelancer platform called Fiverr. Also a really good tip if you're looking for help in your business, Fiverr is a great platform as well to find people that specialize in certain services. So when I went to come to social media to promote to the wider world and market my business, I was on every platform. Literally every single social media, had YouTube, blog, all of it. And it was so overwhelming because I was just posting and just hoping for the best. I had no strategy around it. I was creating content marketing strategies in my full-time job. But when it came to my own business, I was like, oh my God, I'm just, I know I need to post to people and get as many eyes on my brand as possible, but I didn't actually have any strategy towards that. Really, to sum it up, a strategy is a pathway to the outcome for your business. So for example, if you want people to enroll in your school, you want people to come to your football, netball games, your functions, do you want people to come to your website and check out how they can buy from you, or even just spark interest in what you're doing? It's really there. It could also be there to give information around policies, procedures, changes. Maybe if you are like an early learning center and you've got some changes happening around COVID, your objective is to inform the people, your audience, around what's going on. You don't always have to have a call to action to your website, but you need to have an objective within the content that you create. And your strategy is a documented process on how you will show up and create those objective and call to actions. So for example, a client that I'm currently working with, our strategy was to get more eyes on her website to promote her services. So what we did is like, okay, let's start a weekly blog. And in that weekly blog, we can really detail and outline what she does, what she's an expert in. And we can utilize that blog to create social media content. And we could create nearly 5 posts with just one blog post, educating people and then diverting people to the website to read the blog and get more information. From there, within the blog, we promote her products, her services, and then we try to get people in what we call the rabbit hole. So they start, and you might have done this on social media before or on someone's website, you find someone you like, you start looking at all of the things. Next thing you know, you're 4 social media accounts in, you're looking at their mum and their dad, and you've stalked them so much. But that's what you want people to do for your business as well. You want them to come onto your website, look at all your pages, and really get to know you. And that starts to build up that trust and credibility. You don't have to create a blog, but it just means I want you to think about having an objective with the posts that you create on social media. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of insight into what a content strategy will look like. And don't stress, because I've got one on offer at the end for free that you can download, and I have a little how-to video on how to use it. And this is mine. I have a team that helps me. So obviously my content marketing strategy has been developed for the last 2 years. I've put a lot of energy into it, and it is my job. So never compare what this one looks like, but it's just a really good way to document everything down so that you know exactly what content you're creating, where you're showing up, and how you're going to deliver your message to your audience. So what I'm going to do, this is just another slide of it, is I'm going to take you through a content marketing strategy. And then of course you can document it in something like a Trello board, which if you haven't used Trello, it's a really amazing project management tool, especially for content creation. And I highly recommend it. But before we do that, I just want to take you through more about what a content marketing strategy looks like. Now, this is what I call the wheel of content marketing. You might have heard of a marketing funnel before, which funnels people down to buy from you. Essentially, this is what it is, but we want people to keep coming back. We want to keep our customers, whoever our target audience is, to keep coming back and consuming our content and learning more about our business. So I like to think of it as a bit of a wheel. So of course you want to create brand awareness. You want people to consider your brand as an option, or your early learning center as somewhere they want to take their children, whatever that looks like, a bag that they want to buy. You want to get them to consider you, and then of course convert, and then you go back around. Content marketing helps you to generate this know, like, and trust, which helps you to not only nurture your current audience, but it allows people to find you. Because if you're not creating content on social media, you're not showing up online, it could be quite difficult for people to find you, your brand, and learn more about you. And your social posts are looking to do one of the following at any given time. So if some posts might be just there to create brand awareness, and if you're just starting out in business, you might not have anything to offer just yet, creating brand awareness is super important, because you're just getting people to think about you. So when you are ready to offer something, they've already considered you as a brand, and that conversion process might be quite easy. Just remember the term exponential growth. So whether it's with your business or your marketing, things take time with effort. So I just literally read something this morning around, brand awareness can take, 2 years to really develop, so your audience know, likes, and trusts you, which is fine because you're here for business for a long time, right? So you want a sustainable business. So if you just keep chipping away at that brand awareness, that know, like, and trust will come in, and there will be people that have been following your journey or following your business, and maybe they're not ready to purchase, or they're not ready to engage. For example, with my business coach, I followed her for 12 months before I purchased from her. So the know, like, and trust was really cemented in me before I made that purchase. And I ended up spending a lot of time with her and investing a lot of my energy into her services. So just remember exponential growth with your content as well. I just want to, overnight successes, we see a lot of them, but we don't see the background work of how long they've been creating and they've been showing up and all the things. So try not to compare yourself as well. So I know we love a good meme. I really like this one, but I just want you to know that your followers is just one aspect of your content marketing strategy. It goes deeper than that. So you should be considering things like website traffic, email subscribers, online sales. As I said, having that objective looks different for everyone, and that's what we're going to unpack. But just knowing that followers is just one aspect of your social media marketing strategy or your content marketing strategy. The formula of a content marketing strategy looks a little bit like this, and that's what we're going to cover and unpack. So first, it's identifying your audience. Who are you trying to reach and why? Looking at the channels you show up on, and it doesn't have to be all the channels like I did. You don't have to do that. Looking at the type of content you will post, and of course we'll talk about more on that. And looking at the type of content, looking at the objectives and the goals, and if they are numeric goals like X amount of followers, why? And we'll talk about that. And then working out a plan of how many days you're going to show up and what kind of content you will create. And then the last two are repurposing where you can and I'll talk a lot about repurposing, especially for the one that has a YouTube channel, because one video that goes for 10 minutes, you'll be amazed at how much content you can create from that. And then measuring your content. And that's really important, because you could just be creating and wasting a lot of time because you're not looking at what's working. And there could be content that you create quite easily and quickly that's working really well, but you're spending a lot of time creating all this really complex content with lots of elements and depth that isn't working. So you do need to measure. And now I'm going to take you through all of those elements of a content strategy. And as I said, there is a template at the end that you can download so you can have your own and you don't have to stress. It's all there for you. So first is the target audience. And of course, even if you're in the startup phase, this was there was a problem that you wanted to solve. So that's why you started your business, or that's why the person, maybe you're a social media marketer, and that's why the founder or the CEO or whoever founded that business created the company that you work for. There was a pain point or something that was needed. So this is the first step of your marketing and your content strategy. So you need to know who you are marketing to and why. You don't have to over-engineer this at the start. I know you don't have to know absolutely everything about your audience right now, but you need to develop this over time and sort of have a general consensus of who it is you want to market to. The one thing I'll always tell you is make assumptions and then test them. So make an assumption on who it is you want to target or who it is that the pain point helps, and make that assumption, test it by creating content, marketing your business, and then you tweak and change as you go along. As you can see here, this is sort of a profile of a target audience, looking at the characteristics, the behaviors, the goals, and the pain points. And they're sort of the main things that you want to outlay with your target audience, make those assumptions, and then test. So for example, and the thing is with our target audience, there might be other layers to them, or they might not be who we think we are, we think they are at the top surface level. So the early learning center, technically you serve children, you look after the children, but you market to the parents. So the content you create is marketed to those parents. I have a client who is doing body positivity for preteens. She can't market preteens because the content that she create might not be super relatable to the preteens. So if she creates content for the mothers, then they can take that information and talk about it with their teenage daughters. So think outside the box with who you're marketing to. There might be other layers to them, but you don't need to know everything about them right now. You make the assumption, you test the assumption, and then you tweak and change. With sort of content marketing strategies, target audience, all that, you want to keep, take the file out and review. So maybe that's every 3 months, maybe that's every 6 months, but sort of, it's not a set and forget thing, right? You continue to test, trial, and review. So that is really important to remember. So the platforms is the next part of your content marketing strategy. Now, you probably have these already worked out, right? If you do, I want you to go back and just evaluate these platforms. Is it where my audience is at? Do I like creating content on these? Is the content that I'm creating? Sometimes we have to adapt to the platform and we don't realize, for example, the content you create on TikTok compared to LinkedIn is going to be pretty different, but it could be the ideas the same and the concepts repurposed. You need to adapt to the platform that you create content on, because the platform is not going to adapt to you. You can do outside the box ideas and be creative with it, but that's why we make assumptions and we test them. Now, when it comes to looking at the platforms you show up on, knowing your audience is so important before you know the platform, because then you go to the platforms where your audience is and you research this based on their demographic. So, there's lots of resources that can help you. Okay, if I'm targeting mums at this sort of particular age group, maybe Pinterest is a platform for me, or maybe I don't know if LinkedIn really would be. Might not resonate. There might not be, unless it was busy business mums, then maybe you look at LinkedIn. So have a look at the platforms and aim for 1 to 3. Don't push yourself to be on all the channels. As I said, learn from my mistakes. Just do minimal platforms really well, and then expand how many platforms you show up on as you grow. Maybe you get more people to help, and just start to build from there. Now I can show up on more platforms because I have a team that sort of helps me create content on more. They help me repurpose and those sorts of things. So aim for 1 to 3, create content on them, make assumptions, and test whether that platform is right for your business. And when you go to add more platforms, I really do recommend you learn it as a consumer. Now, I understand we don't have all the hours in the world, but it's part of your marketing efforts. And if you schedule time in your business, maybe it's part of your PD at your job to create content for channels, you need to schedule in time to actually know the platform and learn the features, learn it as a consumer so that you can create better content for your audience. It might not be the same content, but you can just analyze how you consume and what you do. And then that will really help you create more content in the future. So this is sort of my favorite part of the content strategy. There's a few elements to it, but once you learn it, it makes it really easy to create content. And it's why I've been able to show up every single day on socials as part of my strategy. Doesn't mean you have to do that, but it's allowed me to really, and my clients and everything, it's really helped us to break down the content we create, make it really easy for us. So I want to outline buckets, pillars, and themes. Now, themes might not work for everyone in this group, but it is something to think about, and I'll explain that in just a little bit. But this helps you decide what content you post, when you post, and it allows you to weave these in to your day-to-day so you know exactly what you're doing, and it makes it a lot easier for you to show up online. So the first one is buckets. So how to explain buckets is the types of topics you talk about when you create content. You don't have to use each one daily, weekly, maybe even monthly. It is just what you're known for as your business and in your content. So for example, these are my content queen buckets. Of course, I'm known for marketing, content marketing, business, writing, and social media. But there's some other buckets that I've added in because I'm a digital nomad. I talk about traveling and being, an entrepreneur on the road. So that's a bucket that maybe not every business owner can talk about. It makes me a little bit different. So you might be a school, but you have a very unique program or something that makes you different from other schools. That can technically be a bucket, and you might not discuss it every single day. You might not talk about it all the time, but you weave it into your content when it makes sense. You might be an entrepreneur who loves Harry Potter, for example. So you add stories and analogies that relate back to Harry Potter. Don't be afraid to be creative and think outside the box with your buckets. Of course, you're going to have this is what we do as a business, this is what we're known for, but there might be some different buckets you can add in that make your brand a little bit different. If you're selling bags online, maybe there's a certain feature that you have as part of your bag, certain materials, and maybe that's what makes you really different. Maybe you're a sustainable business. So maybe sustainability comes into your buckets, even though you might not talk about being sustainable every day. It's just something that makes you a little bit different. So these are sort of the topics that outline the brand you are and the content you create, of course. So then we go a level deeper and we talk about the pillars. So the pillars help you map out what you're talking about each day. Now, these 4 pillars, I've got them on the next slide, so you can take a screenshot if you need to, so you can remember it. The 4 pillars that I've sort of built out are to inform. So to inform is to promote your business, to tell people what you do and how they can work with you or how they can enroll in your early learning center, your school, how they can play football or netball with you, whatever that looks like. Educate is to give insights around your business and your niche. So for example, going back to maybe the early learning center, you could talk about child development as an educational part. And share insights around early learning, early development. It's just to educate your audience around their children or around the stage of that child's life. You might at the end have a call to action, saying you've got enrollment availability, but it's just to purely educate and show that you're that expert within your field. To engage is the third pillar, and that's to have a two-way conversation and bring your audience into the content you're creating, asking questions, giving them call to actions on things you want them to do. Now, there's a really good quote that I want to share with you, and it says, traditional marketing talks at people, content marketing talks with people. So I have a PR background as well, and we were always told two-way communication, back and forth, not just talking at your audience, talking with them. So creating content that sparks engagement with them and allows your audience to answer questions, to share their insights, to, play a role in the content that you create. And then fun is the behind the scenes part of your business. The fun side, if you go for after work drinks, do you share that on your socials to show people the lives, of the people that work within your business? Sharing behind the scenes is a really good way to build up know, like, and trust, because people see you as the whole business, the behind the scenes, not just what you deliver on the outside. So these are the 4 pillars. So it's to inform, to educate, to engage, and to show the fun side of your business. And you just want to weave them into your content every day. So I've got an example down the bottom, and I can explain sort of an example of what you could do. So for example, here it says on a Monday, and this is one of my clients, I've just sort of screenshotted. On a Monday, we educate, but we engage. So we create a piece of content where it's purely educational around body positivity. And then we also engage. So we ask the audience a question. We ask them something about what they do in relation to that topic, or we ask them to save that post, especially on Instagram, like that post, comment on that post, or save that post for later. So we're giving call to actions in that content, and we're also educating. On a Tuesday for engaging, one of my clients, she shows up just on Instagram stories. So you don't have to be on the feed every day if you're on Instagram, and Facebook do Facebook stories as well too. Same with LinkedIn. And what she does on a Tuesday is she shares a story related to the current topic of that week. So for example, that week we're talking about body positivity. Then she talks about her own story, and she asks questions within her Instagram. So on Instagram stories, you can do poll features and things like that, which, it allows you to bring the audience in. You can have yes, no questions. You can ask people to answer in a little question box. So that's bringing her audience in, and then she can share that content back with her audience. So say, for example, she has the question box on her Instagram stories. She asks a question and someone answers. She can then share that answer to her audience through her story. So it's bringing the people into that conversation. And then on a Wednesday, to educate and to inform is to create an educational piece of content. But as I mentioned before, having that call to action. So for this example, it's educating around her business. And then the call to action is for people to sign up to the waitlist of her current workshop she's hosting. So you can weave them in. You don't just have to use one. You could use both. If you were to do a really fun post, you might have a call to action at the bottom that brings people in to enroll in your program, to contact you for more information. It's just about setting out the days of the week you want to show up, which, make an assumption, test it. Could be every day. It could be every second day. It could be a mixture of showing up on stories and showing up in your feed. But show up, lay out your days you want to show up, and then add in these pillars. What day do I promote my business? What day do I educate? And we'll talk about the themes in a second, but this is generally what you can do to help you know what day you are posting what. So when you go to create content, which I will talk about a really good way to do it soon, you know what you're posting and how you're going to show up. Some people do Fun Friday, and they might share something fun about the business. You might do on a Wednesday, share a history piece about your business. If you're a local footy club, you might share a really cool historic story of how the club started. And then every Wednesday you do those posts, and then you measure, you see if, is this resonating with my audience? Can I tweak and change? So set out the days you're going to show up on, and then add what you're going to do each day based on these pillars. Are you going to promote? Are you going to educate? Are you going to engage with your audience or show the fun side? So I'm going to go to the next slide so you can take a screenshot if you need to and digest that, because I think that's sort of the main part of the strategy that allows you to show up, but it also can be like, okay, I need to process this. And I do have some content around this as well on my podcast. So, and there's a blog attached. So if you want to dive in deeper to that, you can. And then the last part of this, what content do we create and when do we show up, is themes. So you can do this in different ways, and it might not resonate with your brand because I know everyone's different. But how I do this with myself and with my client is I have a theme for each week. My podcast topic, whatever that might be, this week is all about mid-year reviews around your content. So then throughout the week on my Instagram, all of my posts based on the pillars, whether I educate, inform, show the fun side of my business, relate back to that theme. So the person that has the YouTube, you might create a YouTube video and the theme of that video sparks your social media content for the week. It doesn't have to be all of it, but maybe some of it. So you could do weekly themes where you focus on a certain topic within the business. You could do monthly themes, or you could do sort of like a special week. For example, if you had International Women's Day, you're celebrating that, you might do a whole week of content around International Women's Day. If it's the birthday of the business, like I did, this is my example. I did a birthday content plan where the whole week was talking about the birthday of Content Queen. I'm doing a special offer for June. So a lot of my content throughout June is going to be about Content Queen and its birthday. So I had a bit of fun, and I made a personality around the brand, shared the zodiac of Content Queen, where it was born, how it, the history. So you could do themes. You could look at a calendar for the whole year and look at key dates within the calendar and then stem content around that. If there's key dates within the business, key dates that relate to the business in history or, whatever that looks like, and then create content off the back of that. Or you could do themes each week. You could create a main piece of content on that theme that you want to talk about. Maybe if it's with the handbags, products a little bit different, but maybe you talk about a certain element of the bag, a certain element of the brand. Maybe you have a whole week on sustainability, if that's one of the main key selling features. You could take the key features of the business and create themes. If you want to do a blog, that blog would be amazing to spark your content for social media, but you don't have to. Okay, so the next part of a content strategy is setting your goals. Now, as I mentioned before, if they are numeric, ask yourself why. So if you're looking for a number of online sales, a number of enrollments for something, knowing that, say, the average conversion rate may be 10%, probably lower, that's when you could maybe work out, okay, my goal is to get X amount of followers because I want to do X amount of online sales. But when you're having a numeric goal, you always need to ask yourself, why? Why this goal? Why do I need 5,000 followers? What's that going to give me? So it's really important to do that, because I think a lot of the times we're like, oh yeah, I want X amount of followers and this and that, but we're not really sure why we want that goal. And then we put a really large amount of followers that we want, and then we're not sure how we're going to achieve that. And of course, you want to have KPIs on that goal. So if you want a number of followers, how are you going to do that? Okay, I need to show up every day. I need to show up Monday to Friday. I need to follow people within my target audience so they follow me back, these sorts of things. And I'll talk about engaging soon. Your goals could always also be qualitative. They don't just have to be about the number. So for example, at the moment, if you're at the beginning of your business, It could just be, I want to show up X amount of days. That is my goal. That was mine when I first started. I was like, I just want to show up X amount of days. I want to set up my email marketing. I want to start a blog or a podcast. So just, you can keep your goals. They don't always have to be numeric. They don't always have to be number of this or a number of that. They could be that you just want to stick to your strategy at least 80% of the time. You want to, start having conversations with your audience, and also like feedback that comes in, and numeric value can also be seen in the comments you get on your posts, right? If people have like, content is amazing and really good feedback, then the number of followers might not also suggest the quality of the followers that you actually have. So I put here some baselines for you if you do want to start measuring numeric value in your goals. So you want engagement of at least 3%. So this is how you can work it out. There's the formula down the bottom. And then for your email marketing, and I put this here because you might not know that the email marketing rate on average is 15 to 25%. So your goal might be, okay, I want 50% open rate. And then you don't realize that 50% is actually an incredible number to get. So then you can actually look at the standard averages and like having a click-through rate. So people actually clicking on the links in your email is only 1%. So knowing these figures will help you set your goals. So you're not, having an unrealistic goal based on what you've got at the moment. So there's just some baselines for you. I also have a podcast episode that I'm going to put in the chat if I can get it to come up around goals. So I'm going to pop it in here. I did this at the start of the year. Hopefully that works as a link. But anyway, it was podcast episode 62, and the podcast is called The Content Queen Podcast. It's on my website as well, but this was all about goals and how to look at your goals a little bit differently. So if you want to dive deeper into goals, you can check out that episode. And then lastly, for a content strategy, is looking at being consistent and repurposing. So how can you be more consistent? I know that was one of the things that come up in the questionnaire was, I want to be more consistent. Of course, first have a plan, set aside some time to actually build out your content strategy. Because if you don't have a plan, you can't expect to be consistent because you're just spending so much time and energy thinking about what you need to post rather than actually coming up with the content. And then what you could do is work on a system that works best for you, batching your content. So for example, you might set aside time on a Thursday, and that is content creation day. You set aside a couple hours and you create your social media posts, your blog, your YouTube video, whatever that looks like for the week ahead. You don't have to batch months ahead. I actually don't really recommend that because it might not make sense by the end of the month, the content, depending on your business. For me personally, so much changes in my life and my business that if I created content for the end of the month, it wouldn't make sense. And especially with a podcast, because I give like updates. So batch your content and schedule days to create. Find a process that works for you. What works for me might not work for you. What works for me right now, setting days aside, literally blocking out time in my calendar to create. And then from there, I've got the content so I can just schedule it. And then it's done. I don't have to worry about it. I know as soon as Monday comes, my content for that week is going to get posted. And I'll talk about some tools for scheduling soon. And then what you want to know is how you take accountability. And this will help you be more consistent. So maybe you need an accountability partner. If it's in part of your job to do the marketing, obviously setting time aside for this is so important. But if you meet inner accountability really well, that's awesome. Outer accountability, maybe you need an accountability partner, especially in the early days of your business. I really recommend it. Maybe a mentor or something like that to keep you accountable on posting and being consistent. Maybe you tell your audience, I'm going to show up on live on every Sunday at 5 p.m. So join me. And then you've told your audience, even if no one shows up, even if no one even sees that story, you've still told people that you're going to show up. My client recently did this. She shows up every Sunday at 5 p.m. and goes live and does like a meditation. And she said she made sure she left her function early on the Sunday to get home to go live because she had told her audience she was going to. I said to her, you can change it. She's like, no, I like it. I want to keep it that way. It keeps me, I've told my audience that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick to it. So knowing how you work to accountability is going to work really well for you. And consistency doesn't mean frequent. It just means sticking to your plan. So you might say, okay, I'm going to show up 3 days a week. That's consistent. You're consistently showing up those 3 days. I have a client that works better. She measured her content, which I'm going to talk about soon. And she worked out that posting 5 days a week actually wasn't really good for her reach and for her audience. So she started posting 3 days a week and she got the same amount of engagement that she did when she posted 5. So why would she waste those 2 days creating posts on her feed when she could show up on Instagram stories? She could create some real content. She could actually work in her business. So that's why it's always good to test and trial what works for you and your audience. And then repurposing. So repurpose across your channels. Repurpose content that you already have. Have you done presentations in the past? Blog content on your website? Have you looked through your camera roll? I'm sure there's so many photos of you documenting the process of your business or, working within your business. Every day there is content that can be created and you build that muscle up. Now that you're in full content mode now after this, I just know it. And it'll just come from everywhere and anywhere. And you need to keep repurposing that and reusing it. So have a main platform that you post to. Could be Instagram, could be Facebook. And then if you do start new platforms, you repurpose onto those platforms. It doesn't mean you literally repurpose the same content, although you can, and don't think you can't, because remember, it's like, I think now it's like 18 touch points before someone sees your content and like resonates and acts to it. So even if they see it twice, it's going to be okay. You're not going to think that you're being lazy. But it might not make sense on LinkedIn what you share on Instagram. So maybe you just tweak, you have the same idea, but you tweak the content or the copy, but you're not, using all of your energy trying to think of ideas. You've already got it there. You're just retweaking the content. And then you just repurpose in between. So look at what you've already got. And then once you work out what is resonating with your audience, you can go back and pull content ideas and use it again. If on the second birthday of your business, that content really resonated, take it and post it again, because people aren't going to remember that you've posted it. And if they do, they're here to support your business anyway. So repurpose content. I know a really well-known PT who literally takes his posts that he did a few months ago and reposts them, and then they do better every time he reposts them. So don't be scared to repost and repurpose. Okay, we don't have too much longer to go. I'm nearly done, and then we can ask questions. So then it's that, okay, well then how do I actually come up with the ideas of the social media? You've got your pillars now. So you've got to inform, educate, engage, and show the fun side of your business. But remember, inspiration comes with when you're not focusing time and energy and you're not forcing these ideas. I went for a walk on Saturday and I listened to a podcast that was nothing to do with business, nothing to do, and I wasn't working, and I generated 4 podcast ideas just from that one podcast. When you actually have a strategy, you have a plan, trust me, the ideas will come. But it's like going to the gym. You need to build up those muscles. So you need to build up your content inspiration. The ideas you think of now compared to 2 years' time are going to be so much different. They're going to be, you're not going to, and the content ideas you have now doesn't mean they're bad, doesn't mean they're not good, but you continue to get inspired by the things that happen around you. You work in your day-to-day. Trust me, there are so many. Document the process. There's so many ideas that can come from your one day of work that you'll just consistently build on that. But don't give yourself pressure to think of them all right now. If you need help right now creating content ideas, there are tools you can use. Answer the Public is a really good tool. So Answer the Public, you can do a Google search and you just type in your business, not your business name, your business idea, your business concept. Say if it was handbags. And then what will generate is so many content ideas, like who, what, when, where, and why, all about your business and your business idea. You can take those. You can type your business idea into Google, and in the suggested will come up with so many ideas of what people are searching. And that's the questions that people are asking. So you want to create content around what people are actually wanting to know more about, right? Because that's when they'll resonate, because you're giving them the answers in your content. There's platforms also called Uber Suggest, so like Uber and Suggest, and you can type in a keyword as well. And then along the side, you have content ideas that you can pull from. Now, this is just in the beginning. Trust me, you're not going to need these in a couple of months' time. Once you build up your audience will tell you what they want to learn more about, not by actually telling you, but through analyzing your content. But also, you can then survey your audience. Use the social media poll features in Instagram stories or in Facebook groups and ask questions, and people will give you the answers. You can use platforms like SurveyMonkey to create a survey, send it out to your audience through email marketing. Maybe if you see your customers one-on-one, ask them questions. They will give you ideas. They will give you so many ideas, and you just like compile them all in your Trello, which you're going to download at the end. And there's a column called content ideas, and you just put them all in there. And then when it comes to the days of content creation, because you're not stressed because you know you've got your dedicated day, you just use those ideas to start creating. The next thing you want to do is tell stories. Use examples. Is it the football club's history, the business's history? Is it when you're creating that certain product or service, there's a story around that? You could use hypothetical stories. You could use stories that are in the public domain, or the stories that happen when you're actually doing the thing. Don't forget to document your stories, your lessons and things like that, and then you can share those as well. And then, of course, the last one is draw inspiration from other brands, businesses, and people. I don't want you to copy, but gain inspiration. The whole concept of TikTok is piggybacking ideas from other people. So actually, taking ideas and just regenerating and making them your own, putting your own creative flair on those. So there's just so many ways that you can generate content ideas. When you force yourself to try and think of them, you're going to get blocked. So just give yourself time and remember that you will build up that muscle. And if there's any types of content you currently create right now, pop them in the chat. But it's just interesting when you start to create more and more, you'll start to see where the more ideas will come from. So, and if you've got an idea, you can either park it or you can post it, and it's up to you. If you're like, I want to park this because it doesn't make sense right now, then you can document it down, or you can just post it. Don't hold on to ideas because you think there's a better time to post them, because generally that person that needs that bit of information is probably asking that question. And then, as I've been mentioning, measure your content. Your insights on social media will tell you a lot. So look at each post. And the objective isn't always likes. So don't always go off that more vanity metric. You want to look at, okay, if you've asked people to go to your website, it'll tell you if you've had clicks to your website. And I've got a podcast episode, which is linked to a blog, which I'll put in the chat in a second, about what to actually measure in social media, specifically Instagram and for your website. So these two images here are the insights of social media on Instagram and your Google Analytics. So don't forget though, even if you've asked someone to go to your website and they haven't straight away, it takes time for them to build up trust. So keep asking. Don't then just go, okay, they're not doing it, I'm just going to drop that call to action. Make assumptions, test them, and then rejig them. Can you ask in a different way? Can you have the call to action somewhere else in the post? And then, of course, you want to look at your Google Analytics. This tells you who's landing on your website, what they're doing, how long they're staying on for. And you can look at the sessions, so the amount of sessions people have had on your website, the users, what pages they've looked at. There's so much information in the data. And I recommend just scheduling maybe a little bit of time once a week or a little bit of time once a month, just to look at your analytics and measure what content is working. So I am going to pop in the chat an episode that you can also listen to around measuring your content, because I think a lot of the times, like, the data will tell us so much, and we can waste a lot of time creating content that maybe isn't resonating, and we just don't know because we're not looking at the content and what is actually working. I just wanted to quickly show you this, a before and after of the left side is no strategy, the right side is strategy. And these screenshots were taken a while ago, so I'm sure they're completely, like, they've escalated now. But even just looking at, these are the sort of things you want to look at is profile visits, reach, website clicks, the little saved button up the top on the top right, comments, things like that. It's not always likes, but of course it means people have engaged in your content. There's other things that you want to look at when you're measuring, and this is for Instagram specifically, but I just wanted to show you how before a content strategy and after a content strategy can help your business. Now, you might want to screenshot this one as well. These are just some tools that will make your life easier for content creation. So of course, Canva, if you haven't looked at Canva, it's amazing. It's like a graphic design platform. It can be for free. You can pay $162 a year. It was made by an Australian. It's amazing. It allows you to create pieces of content, utilize images and graphics combined. What I do recommend is blending the two. Stock images will be okay, but if you have your own images, if you can organize a branding shoot for your business, if you can organize photos in any way to utilize over your socials, definitely recommend that. And having like a Google Drive or a folder on your computer with all your images that you can draw from when you need them. But Canva will help you take one image and you can utilize it in a graphic that you make. And if you buy Canva Pro, you get so many templates. You just put in your branding colors and it's the most incredible thing ever. For scheduling, I recommend Facebook Creator Studio because it's made by Facebook, but you can use things like Planoly, Hootsuite. They're super easy and they just allow you to be consistent because you just hit the time you want it to post and it'll post for you. Ingrammer is for hashtag generation. Now, hashtags are more relevant on social media like Instagram. You want around 30 hashtags for Instagram. And you want a blend of branded topics related to your business, keywords that your audience might be searching, and what's relevant to the image or the location you're at. Ingrammer is really good because it'll tell you how many hashtags you need in a particular category and things. So it's really useful to tell you, because you don't just need popular hashtags all the time. You also want to target like hashtags that aren't as popular as well. For actually creating your content and documenting it, Google Calendar works really well. You can actually have a meeting scheduled for that caption, and then you write the content in the description. Airtable is one I've used before, and just explore, like do a bit of research. Don't spend too much time on it. An Excel spreadsheet works well too, and it allows you just to create and then post. And then of course, for planning, I love Trello, and I'm going to share you my planner at the end. Before we wrap up, I just want to remind you of some things that will make your life a little bit easier. Social media is not just a content creating tool. Be social, engage with your audience, engage outside of your audience. If it's relevant to your brand, I know some it's not relevant to just be following people in your target audience, but make sure you're in having that two-way communication. A VA, which is a virtual assistant, if relevant for your business, mainly more for like sole traders and entrepreneurs, a virtual assistant will help you a lot. They can schedule content for you, create social posts, and it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. You don't have to post every day. As I mentioned, post smarter, not harder. Use all parts of the platform and features. So Instagram has Instagram Reels, Instagram Stories, LinkedIn has stories now. Have a look at all the features of the platform and see where you can utilize them for your business. Make assumptions and test them, as I've said a lot during this presentation. And remember, it is just one piece of good content a day. And it doesn't even have to be that. As I mentioned, it might not make sense for you to show up every single day. If you can, amazing. But it's just one good piece of content. That's all you have to produce. And if you batch it, your life will be easier. Give your social media captions headlines. Think of a newspaper headline, really catchy. You can use language like you, your, we, bring people into the conversation. Have a headline because people see that first and that's what's going to engage people in your content. And be real and authentic. Match your brand values and create content in alignment with your brand values, and just be real. Now more than ever, we just want connection with people online. We don't need that polished content. Even influencers have, decreased amount of polished content that they have. So be real and be authentic. Thank you so much. You can follow me on my Content Queen page or my personal branding sort of page where I talk about being a founder. You connect with me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and then the QR code there, if you just scan that, you can download the free template, which goes over everything we talked about, and there's a video on how to use it. And I've loved presenting this. I hope it was really valuable. As I said, there is a lot to consume. So reach out if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to go over some things, make it a little bit more tailored to your business. I've got the podcast that you can check out, which talks about a lot of the things that we've mentioned. So thank you. And if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat as well.
So there's a couple in the chat already for you. Yep. So the first one's from Wendy, and she's just asking, is Trello similar to Microsoft 365 Planner?
Is 365 Planner just a calendar? I haven't used this tool. So Wendy, if you want to give a bit of background on it, definitely let me know, because Trello is like a project management tool, but you can use it as like a to-do list, and it can document things in there. If Microsoft 365 Planner, I haven't used much of Microsoft, so yeah, just give a bit of context on that. If you want to unmute yourself, you can tell me more about that.
Yeah, it's very similar, just in the way that you had sort of your pillars. It's the same sort of setup, and you can drag and drop things. You can have people, allocating tasks off to different people as well. So it's just, if people have got Microsoft Office 365, they can then have Planner as part of it, so they don't have to pay for Trello.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Trello, you can get for free as well, but if you've got a app that you can use as well, that's amazing. So it sounds really cool. I think it's just with these sort of tools, I've given recommendations on what I've used, but everyone's different and everyone resonates with platforms. Like some use Asana as opposed to Trello. So just it can be really annoying for me to say test and trial, but really that is what it is about.
Yeah, you've got to commit to it.
Yeah, exactly. And see what works. And even just a lot of websites have little videos on how to use it. Thanks, Wendy. A lot of websites have little videos on how to use their tool, so that might help you as well. How much is the fee for VA usually? Can you recommend where to get one? Yeah, so it depends where you want to hire. Of course, if you can hire locally, that's amazing. There is an app called Fiverr. I'll put it in the comments, and you can find I've sent that directly to someone. You can find VAs on here, and it just depends on your budget. But if you can hire locally, obviously it's going to cost you a little bit more, but you can hire internationally as well if you want to, and the conversion rate's quite good. But go onto Fiverr and have a look at. And it depends on what you need exactly. If you need a social media VA, be really specific on what you need help with, and then you'll be able to find someone. Another comment was, is there a good or bad time to post on socials? Yes, of course there is, but I can't tell you exactly what it is for you. In your insights, that's why measuring your content is so important. In your insights, especially on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure Facebook do it as well. The thing with LinkedIn personal branding tool doesn't give you a lot of insights, and even their business part of LinkedIn doesn't give a lot. But there are, in your measurements, it'll tell you what's the best time to post. Of course, you can go off generic, the 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. time frame, the lunchtime time frame, the mid-morning, which, to be fair, my insights tell me like 6 to 9 a.m., 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. So pretty much that's like, prime time, as we used to call it. But it is now how the thing with social media, it's so sophisticated now that it can tailor what times you should be posting. So for example, if you're using Instagram, you click on your highlights on your profile, and then you can look at, I think it's audience, and then you scroll down to the bottom, and even each day it'll tell you the best time to post on certain days, which is really incredible. But yeah, you can test and trial that yourself, or you can look at the stats as well. And do you need to reply to all comments on stories? So is that on Instagram stories? Maybe just a little bit more context on that. And I'm assuming it's people that reply to your stories and they end up in your inbox. If that's the case, yes, you do. And I know that's why maybe you need to get a VA to help you reply to things, especially if you're a business. Yes, because you just never know where that opportunity is going to come from. You can do auto reply now on Instagram. So maybe you set that up. And then if you feel no need to comment, I mean, even if they react to your story, yeah, you could just like it, like their comment to see. But if they could be a potential customer, why wouldn't you spark conversation with them? Because you just never know. If you say, oh, I'm glad you liked it, how's your day been, or something like that, you just never know. That person might buy from you or engage with you. Really, the energy you put in, you will get out. So you could just like it, and but if that person could be a potential client or customer, definitely spark conversation with it. You just never know what's going to happen. There's been times where I've done that and someone's like, oh, I actually need you for something, can we jump on a call? So you never know what's going to come from that. Awesome. Is there any other questions?
So I might jump in and answer one that has come through there from Jolene. Yes, this session has been recorded and will be available on the Latrobe City Council website, probably as of Monday next week, that you should watch any that you missed at the start.
Awesome. And I might even just pop in, this is the name of my podcast. If you like consuming podcasts, a lot of this is in that. But also I create a blog for each podcast episode. So if you're listening, and this is a perfect repurposing strategy, because I create a podcast and then there's a blog to go with it. And if you're listening and you don't want to note things down, there's a blog that will have the answer there for you. And then you can just take that, especially with the measurement episode that I shared with you guys. You can actually go to the blog and I list out what things you need to look at. So that might be useful for you as well.
Well, if there's no further questions, I might wrap it up for today. But thank you so much, Mariah, just for everyone else's benefits. From the moment I reached out to Mariah, she's been so enthusiastic and well organised, and so willing to present today's session. So thank you for that. And I think that's really shone through in the presentation today. And I couldn't believe it when you said your time's almost up. It just felt like it went so quickly. So thank you for your enthusiasm. You're very passionate about what you do and also very knowledgeable. So thank you. And I think you've forever changed how I'm going to interpret every Instagram post that I ever read in my life now. So thank you.
I think too, and thank you so much for that. What I really want to I just leave you guys with is life is content. There is content in every part of your day. Of course, you don't have to document everything and you can enjoy life. I'm all for being present and in the present moment. But there is just so much you can create out of anything, and it will relate back to your business, and people will relate to you in a different way when you just think outside the box and share things and share your day. And I mean, some of you, it might not make sense because you're a business, but even if you are like an entrepreneur or a startup starting your own product business, showing you and showing ins and outs of yourself as well will work really well. But your whole life is content. No one's boring. There's just so much you'll be able to share.
Great. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us this afternoon. If there's any, as I said at the start, if there's any previous webinars that we've recorded that will be available on our website also for you to have a look at if there's anything there that sparks interest to you, and any upcoming webinars that we're scheduling will be available on our Eventbrite page. Thank you. I hope everyone has a great afternoon.
Bye everyone. Thank you.